Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I am Bob Pompeani. We have a lot to get into tonight. We will talk about the Penguins and what do they do with secondary scoring. They don't have much of it right now, and it cost them some points in the recently concluded series against the Devils. We'll also get into what's going on in the NFL and free agency. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be Juju Smith-Schuster's return to the Steelers. And here to discuss it and debate it is our panel tonight. We have Chris Adamski from the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review, Trib Live at the top. Below him, it's Andrew Fillipponi, proud Syracuse alum, especially tonight, even though your wife is now paying the price for that. And to his right would be Colin Dunlap, the host of the Fan Morning Show on 93.7 The Fan. All right, Pony, I want to start with you. Juju Smith-Schuster is back, $8 million. On the surface, that seems like a pretty good bargain for a guy who has pretty good numbers. When you look at it, however, and contrast it to Kenny Golladay and the $72 million plus $18 a year, what happened to Juju's market?
Well, let me start by saying I want to thank everybody down in Morgantown for staying up late with us tonight. I'm sure the moonshine has probably at least blunted the blow a little bit, so we appreciate their audience, as we often do on this program. You know, look, I think that the Golladay-Juju comparison shows that, you know, the NFL, the 31 other teams, clearly did not view Juju Smith-Schuster as a bona fide #1 wide receiver. And that's a critique that many of us in Steelers media have had for the last couple of years, that without Antonio Brown, he's a #2 and not a #1. So he wasn't going to get a big long-term deal. He wasn't going to get $18 million a year. And Kenny Golladay only played 5 games last year, Bob. Hasn't been as productive as Juju in his first 4 years. So, you know, clearly I think there's something about Juju, I don't know exactly what, that makes the rest of the league feel like he's not one of the upper echelon receivers in football.
Well, I don't think you're breaking any news that he's not a #1 receiver, Andrew. I think there's probably only 10 or 11 #1 receivers, true #1 receivers in the league. I think it behooves Juju to do what he did.
And you'd put Kenny Golladay in that category, Colin? I mean, you put Golladay, Allen Robinson, and Chris Godwin ahead of him?
I don't necessarily put the front office of the New York Giants in a category where they make great decisions either, Andrew. But what I do look at when I look at Juju is a guy who takes a deal and a show-me deal, and then when the salary cap bounces back up, he has an opportunity to go ahead and make money that probably in the long term, if he does play well next year, in the long term could be greatly increased. There could be higher than Kenny Galladay's sum. So that's the way I look at it. Yeah, you could.
So are you saying you saw this coming, that he was only going to be an $8-9 million receiver in free agency? You thought this was going to happen to him?
I thought it would spike a little bit more. I didn't think it would be in the 14-15 category. Did you?
Yes, because that's what Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin got. These are guys that by their numbers.
He's a slot receiver. Like, I don't know what people keep arguing in this town. People keep trying to designate the receivers, and this guy's a #1, this guy's a #2.
Colin, it wasn't just us. Like every article that was written on free agency said that the guy was going to get that kind of money. No one predicted this. Not a Chris, you've got a nice column at the Trib. Did you predict this? Only $8 million for Juju? If you did, tip of the cap, you've got one. Congratulations.
The thing is that it's we have to realize that in a pandemic offseason, a pandemic free agency, the salary cap going down, something that nobody could plan, nobody could look at going forward and plan that ahead. So guys aren't going to get what they maybe expected. The 1-year deal helps out Juju, of course. He could catch him. He'll still only be 25 years old. It's kind of amazing. This guy had 110 catch season, almost a 1,500-yard season. 4 years old, hitting unrestricted free agency. That's like a unicorn type situation that happened, and he still didn't get the cash in. We can blame the salary cap going down, and I get that Juju is I get he's polarizing for maybe the TikTok or whatever. Put all that aside, though, it's hard to kind of value him. How do you quantify his value? Yes, he's the 3rd lowest average yards per catch, but he had the 7th most catches among any wide receiver in the league this year. He was 12th in catch. He only had 3 drops. He only has 5 fumbles in 4 seasons, which he's a couple high-profile ones. He's not that bad. He's tied for second in the NFL.
And somehow Corey Davis still got more money than him. Somehow Corey Davis, who has been a career underachiever.
Because you don't let anybody else talk. Let me ask you something. What do you want people to say? That he sucks? Like, what would satisfy you, Andrew?
No, all I'm saying is that no one thought that he was going to have to take this kind of hometown discount, which obviously says something about the way he's viewed around the league. That's what I'm saying. That $8 million is a far cry. That if Corey Davis can get almost double his salary, something's wrong there. He should fire his agent then, because nobody thought he was only worth $8 million. Not you, not Chris, not Bob. No one.
All right,
Colin.
we're looking at
free agents, wide receivers. I'm sorry, Bob. Free agency, because every year we hear about the draft as loaded with wide receivers, and that's true because colleges now have every college has 4 or 5 wide receivers that play and that train to be wide are draftable. Every year, there's always high draftable wide receivers, and then there's a glut of them on the free agent market 4 years later. So I think that somebody's going to get left behind a lot of these times, and this time it happened to be Juju.
All right, Colin, I'll ask you this now. And again, quick here because we're up against a break.
Right.
But, Colin, when you look at the Steelers now with Juju Smith-Schuster coming back, do you feel better about their chances, same or worse than you did maybe before this thing?
They're a better offense with Juju than without him, I think. I mean, are we forgetting the fact that people wanted to run Deontay Johnson out of town or at least put him on the bench because he couldn't hold on to the football? Are people forgetting the fact that from an inside receiver standpoint that Eric Ebron did the same thing and put it on the ground and couldn't catch the ball? Juju Smith-Schuster, people try to designate too much. Is he a number one? He's a guy that catches the football in short yardage situations, a guy who runs the routes he was told to run last year, caught the football and bulldogged and ran people over. Like, I'm trying to find the problem here. I'm trying to understand what people want more from of this guy. He played within the confines of the offense for an offensive coordinator that was terrible. What do people want?
Silence now. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, no, like I said, when he's second league in first down catches on third down catches for a first down. He obviously had a niche. He obviously has value. I thought there would be one of the other 31 teams in the NFL would have seen that and had a perfect situation where you have a burner maybe on the outside, you have a good tight end, maybe you have your ball catching running back out of the backfield, and he can fit a niche that I think is very, very valuable. Don't get me wrong. Now, Colin's right. Number one, I guess by definition, the last couple of years, he's probably not. But the Steelers now paid him, maybe not as a number one, but they paid him as their number one.
Yeah.
They don't do very often. And now we'll see what happens next year where they pick him or Deontay Johnson. They won't pick James Washington, I'm sure. But they don't pay 2 wide receivers. They don't do that. So we'll see if they give Deontay an extension next year or if they give Juju the extension next year. But what this does,
you won so hard, Andrew. You won so hard for his social media part to be a big detrimental point to this, and it has nothing to do with his on-field play. It has nothing. You're trying too
I haven't
hard,
said.
Andrew.
No, I'm not. I haven't even said that yet in this conversation. In fact, as far as this part of it goes, Bob's question was not the first question was not about how it affects the Steelers. As far as I'm concerned, I'd rather have Juju Smith-Schuster for $8 million than Steven Nelson for the same salary. Because I think guys like Steven Nelson grow on trees, and if your team can't draft and develop corners that are as good as him, well, then shame on you. You should be able to. They're probably, I'll make a prediction here. I think they're going to sign a guy in free agency for less than Steven Nelson made last year that is going to be a better player than him in 2021. I don't think the Steelers are done yet, but the question at the start was, what happened to Juju? I answered it. He was not a guy at the beginning of this whole thing that was going to settle for $8 million. His market value dropped.
Your team winning tonight. You're upset, man. Hey, the Steelers are a 10-7 or a 9-8 team. They're a 10-7 or a 9-8 team with or without Juju.
All right. On that note, we got to go to a break. We're going to pick up that Steven Nelson conversation. Plus, we'll expand the thoughts into free agency. Bill Belichick, was he the winner in this? We'll get into that and more when we continue right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown.